So about a week ago, in my spare time, I have been playing the Batman series, the Arkham series, excluding Origins of course, because that's just not the same, I don't agree. And being one of my favourite, I say one of, it is my all-time favourite superhero franchise games. I have loved playing the Batman games for as long as I can remember. I thought it was just fun to come back to, just to play, but growing up, you know, playing these games more, you tend to understand more, and playing this game when I first did, I was about, I don't know, let's say 8 years old. I first played these Batman games on the PS3, it was my favourite to play, but as I got older and understood, I took more appreciation for things in the game. However, there was one thing in particular that I really wanted to appreciate and understand more, and that was the boss fights. Now, for an older game, the boss fights may not be the best, and they weren't so common. So this is my ranking on Batman Arkham Asylum's boss fights. Seeing how there is only 9 bosses in the game, I'm going to be ranking them from 9th to 1st, worst to best, and explaining in detail why.
I know you're still out there. Won't be long and you'll hear her final song.
Coming in at number 9 is the unfortunate Victor Zsasz. Now, I have to say, this isn't, in my opinion, a boss fight, it's a quick little sequence with him, and you get 2 of those in the game. The one in the beginning is not so much, I'd say, a boss fight, because it's a tutorial of how to glide and attack thugs from above, but this one, all you do is throw a batarang at him and he's down. And that ruins I feel they just could have done more. I know he's only a guy with a knife and he's not much of a threat, but there definitely could have been more thought into him, and unfortunately that only leaves him deserving of the number 9 spot. Coming in at number 8 is the first boss that you have to fight in Arkham Asylum in the game. It is the unfinished Titan formula that Joker uses against us on his henchmen as a sort of tutorial to show what's to come in the future. Not particularly the most strongest, not the most aggressive, and definitely not the most intimidating. As you can see, missing a bulk arm and a bulk leg, he definitely is not perfected. You could just say he's a mongled type of big guy that was injected with some sort of serum, which is true, but I'll explain why he is not particularly the best, but not the worst. Not the hardest boss at all, in all fairness, as all you have to do is throw a batarang, wait for him to charge. Once he's charged and hit the wall or wherever he's run to, you can then attack. Just don't get too trigger happy on the buttons, as he will get out of that stun and eventually attack you back and take a moderate amount of health, because even though he isn't perfected and he doesn't seem the strongest, he is not weak at all. Unfortunately for this Titan, towards the end, he has a heart attack and dies. And Joker, not expecting that, obviously realizes he needs to make a better formula, but that will take time, and we know for the rest of the game, at this moment, we are not going to have any problem with fighting Titans whatsoever.
Look who's discovered our secret lab.
Coming in at number 7, we have the perfected, finished Titan formula that Joker still uses against his henchmen, unfortunately for them. They are a lot stronger, they are still deformed, but a lot less, but that's not saying they aren't. They still are no better looking than what they were before, and quite frankly, they are not to take lightly. As you can see, they are not missing one big arm and one small arm, they are fully big now. The Titan has worked in the system as well as Joker's wanted, and now they are just straight up tanks. There is a bonus to fighting these versions though, and that is that you can climb on the back of these guys and use them as a weapon against thugs that you might have to fight alongside, or you can even fight Titans against Titans. But you can only be on the back of these guys for so long before they fling you off and you're on your own again. You do still have to be aware of of them hitting you, and they do tend to come in more than just one. They now come in packs of 2s. It still isn't going to make it too tricky. Like I said, all it really is just paying attention. The thugs are a little distraction, but you don't need to focus on them. And just being able to use titans against titans while you're on the back of one makes it much more beneficial, and it's a lot less harder to face, given you're aware that there are still 2 and that you're not going to focus too much on the other thugs. They are not too much in the way, and they are still one of the easier boss fights to face at the moment, and it's still not the hardest. So that's why they come at number 6, but I love the upgrade and the step up that these guys made for just the extra bit of challenge. It's really unique, it's great.
I have nothing to live for.
Coming in at number 6 is the Joker Titan boss fight. Now the reason he's in 6 and not in 7 or not in 5 is because he's not your average boss fight. He's a unique kind of boss fight and a unique kind of Titan who doesn't appear every so often in the game. He only appears once at the very end. The only reason he's so high on my list is because his combat with you in the combat zone is not really that interesting. He comes in, swings his arms around a couple, and that's it. And then he runs away and you're left to fight thugs. It feels more like a thug fight than anything else, just a massive load of thugs from all that you witness in the game besides the lunatics, and it's not really Joker related. He sort of took the Titan and did nothing with it, swung his arms around, and that was the fight. It's not to say it's bad, it's a test of your strength, it's to see everything you know and what you've learned playing the game over the time, but I think for the last boss fight it needs to be more interesting, like the other games show when it comes to the future Arkham games. He's a cool character. Again, if he was used, this would be completely different, but the only reason he is higher than your other Titans is because, like I said, he only comes once and he's the last fight of the game. But that does not do justice for how terrible they made this boss fight. They could have definitely done more, and it's just quite underwhelming because all you do is pull him off of the ledge, he gets his hand stuck in the boards of the wood, and that's really it. That's all the boss fight has to offer. You punch him a couple times and then you're back to square one, swinging arms. So with that, there's not much to talk about with this boss fight, besides it's really just a test of strength and the skills that you've picked up over time, but I just wish, just like Victor Zsasz, they did that little bit more with him and just put a little bit more effort, because this is quite honestly one of the most useless boss fights in the game, and it's the last one, so that is why it sits in number 6, unfortunately. Coming in at number 5 is Bane's boss fight. The reason I've got him in number 5, above Joker, first of all, it's Bane. Okay, there's no argument about that. Second of all, his boss fight is, again, takes a little bit of uniqueness to it. Not much. It takes a dab of uniqueness and puts it into the boss fight. And the reason it's slightly unique is the reason you fight Bane. It's almost because he's invincible with that Titan tank on his back, and we have to get rid of the pipes that run the Titan from the tank into his body, hence why it's a bit more unique. His fighting style is also a bit more unique. He doesn't let you know he's going to charge at you, it's actually silent, and also it takes 2 charges to get him knocked out by running into a wall, which takes a little bit longer and a little bit more challenge, so he's not like your average Titan. Now, besides the reason to why we have to fight Bane, it doesn't take away the fact that he's still no better than the average Titan purely because of his attack style. He only charges at you, swings at you when you're too close, and also throws throwable objects at you. It may not be the bodies of humans, but it is from the wall, which he pulls out with his bare hands, which is quite incredible. But it's still just is the sort of same repeat as it was for the other Titans, hence why he is only in 5th. As much as I hate to say it just didn't stand up to the boss fight challenge that it was meant to, and for the kind of character it was quite overlooked, and it just felt like they didn't put much time into something they could have made completely different for a character like Bane. Nonetheless, he is one of the cooler boss fights, and not only that, but I am a huge fan of cutscenes in games, and quite frankly, if you've ever played this game before, you'll know that this is a cutscene that you can never ever forget when it comes to a boss fight.
I will break you, Batman! Then the Bruja! No, Bane. This time I break you!
I always thought there was a spark between us.
Coming in at number 4 is the Harley Quinn boss fight. Now, the reason I've got her in number 4 above Bane is because Bane is a Titan and Harley Quinn isn't. Surprise, surprise, she's just a random crazy woman who fell in love with the Joker. First of all, she throws different curveballs, unlike the other Titan boss fights which don't, and also just is one unique character. She seems to try and be flirty with Batman, but it just doesn't work. And quite honestly, the first bit is just your average, like I've said plenty of times, thug battles, but a little bit after that it gets interesting, and she sort of sets the tone for who she really is. In the second part of the boss fight, she locks you in a room with 2 other guards from the Asylum and has you on a set timer to try and get them out from a room that is about to be filled with happy gas, but unfortunately below them they are hanging from water that has been electrified. In the third and final sequence in the Harley Quinn boss fight, she traps you in a room full of thugs, but the floors and panels below become electrocuted and gives you a certain amount of time to get out of there before you get electrocuted. The reason I put this boss fight in 4th place is purely the uniqueness that Harley Quinn puts you under and the stresses of the hostages. Now, the stresses of the thugs in the third part and the floors becoming electrified isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. However, taking damage and having thugs hitting you sometimes does not help, but being under 1 minute and 30 seconds trying to save the hostages, and then having to get out of the room in just 30 seconds when it cuts down to it, is definitely very heart racing and definitely wants you out of that room as soon as possible. The only thing I dislike about this boss fight is the fact that you don't get much one-on-one time with Harley Quinn, therefore it just doesn't make up for the 3 sequences she puts you under. However, that's not the worst thing in the world, and the sequences makes it unique, and it's good different types of style, so that's why Harley Quinn's boss fight goes into 4th place. Coming in at number 4 is Scarecrow's boss fights. Now, all 3 of them I really like and always have, particularly because of its style. It's not your average boss fight that you see in most of the Batman games. This is a almost 2D platformer style, and I like that. That's different. It's not like the Batman where you have now, where you have a 3D camera roaming around your head. It's a camera that's sat on a fixed position and follows you, the character. And there's always a but, and there's always the only thing I could change, but the only thing I could change and would change is the style and how it goes all 3 times, because it's the same style and sequences for all 3. However, what sets those issues apart from the 3 encounters is the horror aspect from the 3 encounters that you get from Scarecrow, and it's just the crazy hallucinating and the sort of things that you see from Batman's perspective, whether it be his dead parents or his childhood. It is quite haunting to see. what's even worse is when you're in his world and he's looking around for you with his yellow orangish eyes, which quite frankly you don't want to get caught in, otherwise you're dead and you have to restart. The tenseness of trying to be as patient as you can, but also being impatient if you just want to get through, throws you off, and you can get caught out at the most unluckiest time. And honestly, that's just what sets it apart for me. You're just under what feels to me like pressure when it comes to trying to avoid a massive glowing-eyed character like Scarecrow. I'm not going to go through all of Scarecrow's realms, all the 3 times you experience him, into detail. If you would like that, there are YouTube videos on here where they tell you and go through in full detail what happens. But I must say, through all the 3 times that these encounters get trickier and they show more of a challenge, it's more fun and the patience has to last even longer, and it's just more intense because he throws things at you, and it's also making sure that you don't get caught in his orangey yellow gaze that I just love so much when it comes to this section of the game. Overall, it's a fun challenge. It's not your average Titan fight or thug battles. This is purely just patience and just fun. It's a fun little mini game almost, it feels like, and that's why it sits in 4. I wish they did this for the other games, but quite frankly, the uniqueness of this makes it just more interesting, and also is just unique for one specific game. I can't complain. I'm rhyming, so I'm going to leave that there. Scarecrow is number 4 on my list. Coming in at number 2 is one of my all-time favourite boss fights in all of the Arkham games, and it's Killer Croc. Now, just the setting he's in a broken down sewer, really sets the tone for just what you're running into. A 10-foot crocodile guy coming to eat you. Set with the task to find spores that contain the cure for the Titan formula that Joker's been creating, which is underground these sewers, you also have another task of Killer Croc chasing you down and trying to eat you. That's his only goal. He just wants to eat Batman. You are in these sewers for a good 10-15 minutes, depending on how quick you complete this mission, knowing that there is a massive 10-foot crocodile man stalking you underneath the boards that you run across on top of the water. Not the hardest boss fight to beat. All you have to do is throw a batarang at him and his collar will electrocute him and he will fall back into the water. For a set period of time, you won't have a crocodile man chasing you. Being in these sewers longer than you may like, it really sets the atmosphere and the tension, and the silence creeps more, as you have to move slowly over the boards, which send sound waves through to Killer Croc if you run. So, being silent is your only option, adding to that silence, which is very loud, when you hear the water from the pipes dripping into the waters you stand above. Hearing the alerting sounds that he's chasing you without knowing where he's coming from is also pretty freaky, as you can see in the clip I'm about to show you. So, in all fairness, it is one intense, terrifying sequence with something like Killer Croc. Now, that's not to say it makes it too bad, because it's not. It's just the horror and the terrifying aspect, and the fact that you need to be on your toes when sitting in his sewers trying to find these spores for the rest of the game. Being 10 years older than when I first played this game till now, being chased by something like Killer Croc still scares me, knowing that you're being stalked every step of the way. The rest of the sequence after you find the spores, however, is not the worst. All you have to do is run away from the boards he is trying to destroy, but as you're doing that, you can't see in front of you. At the end of this sequence, all you need to do is blow up the explosive gel that Batman set before he entered the sewers, and make sure he falls into the hole in time. The tension and the fact that you're feeling watched, along with the atmosphere of the old rotten sewers that you're inside, really sets the tone and makes for a perfect battle. Although you are not in any physical combat with him throughout this experience, the fact that he will just emerge from somewhere without you knowing, and not necessarily knowing where from, makes him a freaky character. This is quite honestly one of the first good things I've had to say and think about when it comes to a boss fight, and the developers did incredibly well for such a big character in the game, unlike some of the Titans, which are also bigger characters. Like I have said, I love the horror and the tension factor in this, and the fact that you know he is lurking, you just don't know where he's going to come from, makes it all the better. Killer Croc is 100% in my opinion deserving of the top 2.
I won't let you destroy it, Batman.
I told you to go to your cell.
Finally, coming in at the number 1 spot, in my opinion the most deserving, is the Poison Ivy boss fight. The setting and the atmosphere, and just the design of the whole area that you're in as a whole, just is so boss fight style to me, and I love it. The idea that she sits inside a massive plant and uses it as her weapon really makes it more interesting, and the weapon choice and combat choice that she uses makes it even better. Using the claws on the far left and far right she uses to put into the ground, which causes vines to come from the ground which grab you and take damage. In order to avoid that, you must roll out of the way and get into a zone where the vines aren't growing. The 2 weapons that she has on the close left and right shoot little orbs or balls at you that do quite a bit of damage if you can't avoid them, and quite honestly, I love the aspect of having to once again avoid. The way to defeat her is quite simple but very unique. She sits inside a little pod which opens and closes. When it's closed, you cannot hit her with any batarangs, but once it's open, as soon as possible throw a batarang and it does quite a lot of damage. Once the plant is down, you can use explosive gel and apply it onto the little bubble she's in and blow it up. In my opinion, it is the biggest and coolest boss fight in the game, and quite honestly I believe that this should have been the last boss fight in the mission, considering Joker is the main villain. The style of the fight I really like, with the camera once again, just like the Scarecrow's missions, being fixed on the character and not on the head. Overall, with combat style, atmosphere, the boss type, and who the character is, and how to defeat them is so unique and so cool, and I love all of it, and there's nothing really wrong to say about this. This is why Poison Ivy sits in first place. Guys, that there concludes my Batman Arkham Asylum boss fights rankings. These are merely just opinions, not necessarily facts, but that's what opinions are for. If there is anything I missed or didn't add on, please do leave that in the comments, and let me know your opinions, and whether you think I'm right or wrong, or whichever character or boss fight deserve to be higher than the other or lower than the other. I'd really like to hear it. Like I said at the beginning, this is an older game, and boss fights weren't necessarily looked up to at this time, but they did what they could. Nonetheless, these boss fights do not make the game bad at all. This is still one of the best and most fun games I have ever played through, and if you guys are interested, please do try it. Nonetheless, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.